Caravaggio's Adrenochrome Addiction. My good friends might be wondering why continue bringing this bad news, very bad news, about the world we live in and those who rule it. That's a good question. I'm not enjoying this very much. There is some pleasure in decoding masterpieces, I suppose, exposing them for what they are. But I have bigger ambitions. I have a solution, of course I do, a cultural solution. And yes, I don't just point out problems. I have a solution. But I don't think it would be very popular with most people. Maybe not until we realize just how seriously screwed we are, how seriously corrupt and evil our culture is. Plenty of people are, of course, unfortunately being painfully disillusioned as the middle class is being sucked dry of its life, if I may employ a cannibal metaphor. It applies, of course. What kind of people would do this to millions, hundreds of millions of people, destroy their hope? And of course, before them, the poor, the billions, I suppose, when apparently, or quite obviously, the world could be organized so much more justly, but it isn't, and it will not be. And lectures such as the one I'm presenting today will confirm just how bad the situation is and just how important it is to look for serious alternatives, radical alternatives. But with that little preface, I will begin to expose Caravaggio, the great early 17th century painter. I think he was Italian. 80 paintings are credited to him. 80 is an important number. It can be numerically reduced, numerologically reduced to the number 18, which is code for the 666. He allegedly died in 1610, I believe, a nice number that can be numerologically reduced to the number 18. Coincidence? Maybe not. We begin with Caravaggio's, an early work by him, allegedly, Boy with a Basket of Fruit. Yeah, this is what a genius wants to paint. Yeah, a boy holding a basket of fruit. How odd. It is an odd painting, isn't it? This face will be familiar after 3 other paintings we examine. It is slightly flushed cheeks. We have the shoulder nicely, seductively exposed, as if he were a woman. Don't want to stereotype, but yes, usually this is womanish behavior. and a basket of fruit, including grapes, grape leaves. It's connecting this boy to the Bacchus Dionysus myth or character, the sacrificial god torn apart by the Titans and cooked, I believe. Well, yes, he is fruit here. He's fruity. This is meant to suggest that the basket of fruit is meant to suggest that, and the exposed shoulder, the slightly flushed cheeks. Yeah, this boy is also fruit to be eaten. Oh, how many art historians will have heart attacks? Haha. Yeah, poor fellows, poor experts don't have a clue. But today I want to take a closer look at a later painting. 3 of them, actually. This one is...
Caravaggio created this painting around 1597.
What's the title of this one? Bacchus, yeah, or the god Dionysus.
And if someone asked you what you see in this detail and you answered a carafe of wine, you'd only get partial credit for your answer. Sorry, but this detail, my friends, has been found to contain an early self-portrait of Caravaggio at his...
All right. A carafe of wine. This is a carafe. Kind of a new word for me. And, well, there's that boyish face again, right? Or, how old is this child? 14. Again, he's playing the part of Bacchus, the sacrificial god, fruit available, but apparently the most important element here is the carafe of wine. Red wine, of course, that symbol of human blood. Carafe and Caravaggio, coincidence? Caravaggio, la garrafa in Spanish, very close to Caravaggio. So the painters, whoever he was, repeatedly toyed with the idea, or represented the idea, that Caravaggio is a sacrificial human. Therefore, I don't think Caravaggio was ever the name of the artist. Well, we know it isn't. The real artist, the real Caravaggio was named Michelangelo something. Of course, another Michelangelo. And pure coincidence. They are separated by almost 100 years. But all these paintings are painted much later. In some paintings, faces in the paintings are Caravaggio's face. In this picture, allegedly, his face was reflected in the carafe.
Added extra layers that further blurred the reflection. This means that the face ended up buried under a translucent veil. Was a stop. Pietro Duro in Florence subjected the painting to multispectral infrared reflectography. This technique allows us to see beneath the layers of paint and varnish that the human eye cannot penetrate, and what appeared in those images was astonishing. Hidden in the wine carafe was a tiny self-portrait of Caravaggio. According to their description,
No one has quite seen it. The idea or rumor was first spread by an Italian restoration expert. I'll take the word for it. Caravaggio's face is reflected in the carafe, holding red wine, which is a symbol of human blood. So we are offered Caravaggio's blood here. Caravaggio playing the role of Dionysus, Jesus. And of course, the red wine is a symbol for adrenochrome. Next. Another painting by Caravaggio. This one is the beheading of Goliath by young David.
Caravaggio.
So this is supposed to be Goliath's head, but apparently it is made in the image of Caravaggio's own face.
Caravaggio painted his own death, not symbolically, but quite literally. His severed head, dripping with blood, held up by a young man who is also him, only younger. This isn't just a biblical scene, as most people assume. It's a small, dark painting, but so brutally honest that it feels more...
Right. So that's him as a youth. That roundish face again. And he's cut off. The young Caravaggio has cut off the head of the old Caravaggio. Conventional explanation is that Caravaggio, the elder Caravaggio, was a murderer who knew he would one day be captured and killed, and this painting is supposed to capture his sense of remorse or guilt. He's cutting off his own head as to express his willingness to execute himself, to accept capital punishment. No, this is not about imaginary crimes and remorse. Goliath. Put it this way, the young man killing his old self suggests that Caravaggio is becoming young again, no longer old. This is precisely the point or the intent or the alleged function of adrenochrome and infant blood injections. The sword has a mystery on it. It is a strange sword. I mean, because it has letters on it, and it's also held strangely, as often occurs in these famous paintings. Why is he holding the edge of the sword against himself, his young self, his crotch even? How odd. But odder still is the what do they call it? The inscription on this sword. I think this is where it is discussed.
Inscription so you can place your order. Now then, back to the piece. If we look closely at the blade of the sword David is holding, we can see some letters engraved. H-A-S-O-S.
Haspos. Has. Has sounds like the Dutch word for rabbit, a sacrificial animal. prey, edible animal for some. Hassos. I was a bit at a loss, so I decided to go numerology, the numerology route. And this is what I found for us. Okay, so the H equates to an 8, A as 1, S as 19, O as 15, S as 19, separated by light commas, because I will remove them, as there are no commas in the originals. 8 minus 119 equals 111. There are no negative numbers in numerology. 15 beside 19 makes 1519. And it's normal to add things in numerology, so I added them. It gave me 1630, which is equates to the number 20, reduces to 20. 1 plus 6 plus 3 makes 10. 0 can represent a 10, so we have 20. The year 1630 is also 20 years after Caravaggio's death. The number 20 can be represented by 2 Roman X's, and the double X represents the double cross. Yes, we've been double crossed by the criminal elites, the world cannibal cult that has created our culture, given our culture to us, given a culture to us. We still don't quite understand what was given to us. These paintings don't deserve to be called masterpieces. They're something quite masterpieces of psychopathy, perhaps. There we have the date of death, 1610. Aged, 38, which reduces to 11. His entire death day, is important, I guess. It's very numerological. Occult, 18th of July, 18, that number again, 1610. If we add all these numbers, July represents a 7. Well, maybe it doesn't add up to anything, but I'll leave it to you. Don't want to give everything away. I first looked for the meaning of the word hassos, but it's not really a word that's carved into the sword or cast into the sword. It does have nearly equivalents in the Hindi language. One means, hasso means to laugh. Yeah, they are laughing at us. And assos, to get that last S in there, not drying up. Not drying up, something that cannot be absorbed. How curious is that? What else to say about this painting? I'm not sure there's too much more. It's bad enough as it is. But it's nothing compared to his alleged masterpiece, best of his best, the beheading of St. John the Baptist. Let's have a quick listen.
Today, around 80 paintings by Caravaggio are preserved. but there's one in particular that kept a secret for centuries. Yes, I'm talking about the beheading of St. John the Baptist, which many consider the pinnacle of his work. However, beyond its artistic merit, it's also the only piece where the artist intended to leave his signature, albeit in an unconventional manner. He chose to conceal it for many years until it was discovered during...
How do you like that? He signed his name symbolically with the blood of John the Baptist. Well, it's not normal blood. It looks extremely sticky. Let's have another look at that in the close-up. Well, I'll get back to it later. If this is the beheading of John the Baptist, and well, that's the title officially, Caravaggio took some liberty with the Bible's narrative. In this story, in this painting, John the Baptist is an escaped prisoner, not a guest at King Herod's palace. Apparently this rope comes down from an upper floor. It was used by St. John the Baptist, the escapee. Yeah, so God wouldn't rescue him with an angel. No, he had to climb down with a rope. And this is supposed to be Salome, who asked for his head. Yeah, that's very normal for young ladies to ask for a man's head. No, of course, we're being fed a pile of lies behind which exists a darker truth, one more plausible but not so desirable. Let me go to the Wikipedia version. There we go. And well, this is supposed to be set in the Middle East. Clearly it isn't. These are very European-looking men and women. And some more interesting details at the bottom. There is something resembling a lamb or a young goat under the red drapery covering John's butt. Or it could just be a lamb skin with legs still attached. No, it looks like the entire lamb is, or goat kid is still there for some reason. Well, to imply that John the Baptist is a sacrificial goat. Humans are viewed as animals by the people who painted this horrid painting. I'm putting the pain back into painting, aren't I? And further to the right, we have this strange cord. But it seems almost alive. The end of it is sticking up. It's like, what is that, a tapeworm, some kind of snake? The rope is also quite serpentine. Yeah, we've got to put all the symbols of evil in our masterpieces. John's arm is wrenched behind his back as if he were already tied, handcuffed. There is some strange circular object near his right hand. Not sure what that's meant to be. probably important. This is the prison warden with all his keys hanging from his waist. Usually it's St. Peter holding keys. Keys are also associated with the Vatican, papacy. And they are standing in front of a castle. Like, no, they couldn't take the time to bring the escapee back inside the castle, prison. I have discussed the fact that all castles were always prisons and human farms. In a previous lecture, what was it called? Fortress World, perhaps? Okay, so this is a castle that is actually a prison. They couldn't take the time to drag John back inside for a proper beheading. This man even is choosing not to use the sword that's left on the ground. Instead, he wants to use his knife, which for some reason he's just extracting from its little scabbard. Is that the word for it? Is he just pulling it out? But then why is John already bleeding? How strange. Maybe he's putting it back in, behind his back. This behind the back gesture just seems to imply betrayal. Who is this man, dressed so poorly? Not dressed like an executioner. This woman's holding her head just as John's about to lose his. I think she wants to keep hers. The most important part is, in my mind, in my opinion, this strange blood that looks more like a blood clot has squirted out of John's neck. Why is that? Well, hold on to that thought. I'll get to there. That's supposed to be the climax. Let's have a look at castles. Well, castles do have barred windows on the first floor sometimes. This is Castle Clinton. I never knew such a thing existed in New York City. Castle Clinton. Just a quick scroll through this. At the Castle Garden. I don't think this exists anymore. There's the inside of the castle with the barred windows. And apparently that's what it looks like now. It's just a big corral for holding human prisoners and outdoors. Good luck climbing those walls. We have a similar place here in this little village. Everyone walks by it, thinking it was once upon a time a textile factory. Yes, a textile factory with 3 to 4 yard high walls, barred windows on the second floors. Second floors of buildings that are part of the wall. It's amazing what we can find around, what we can discover, but enough of Castle Clinton. Let's go straight to the climax. Adrenaline turns out it effectively makes blood stickier because it causes platelets to become more active and prone to clumping. That's a response to the danger the body senses. It's intended to stop the bleeding it expects might happen, rightly so, if you're in a state of fear, extreme fear. There is probably a chance of injury, so got to get all those blood platelets into the vessels, blood vessels. So that explains why the blood coming out of John is so sticky. And this is an adrenochrome harvesting ritual. Secretly, of course. I'm sure they didn't do it this way. They have better ways. They wouldn't waste it on the floor. Caravaggio has many other paintings. I don't have time to look at them all. I just thought I'd have a quick look at. It's a bit anticlimactic, but quick look at this one. It's called the card sharps. Is that right? Original title in, well, the card sharps in English. The two, this is the familiar face again, looks like Dionysus. Maybe it's also Caravaggio. And these two men appear to be working together, conspiring together. They are dressed in yellow and black stripes, which could suggest they are symbolically wasps or bees looking for the honey of life. Their honey, this is very feminine looking. I almost hesitate to say boy, but I think it is meant to be a boy. It looks so much like Dionysus did in this painting. Clearly, this man is looking at the cards held by the sacrificial boy and signaling to this man with his hands and his old gloves as if he's from the lower class. And this man understands. Oh, okay, yes. That's the look of understanding. We need to do something because the young man has a good hand. So he's reaching behind his back for a better card, but there is something better, something else behind his back. Some kind of dagger. I'm not familiar with this design. Seems to have some protuberances there, and it seems to have no blade, just a point. Almost like a hypodermic needle. Good grief, you don't say. And the hand of his partner, very close to the handle or knob of this ominous device. Yeah, it seems pointy. Wouldn't that be perfect? They are wearing clothes that imply they are wasps' stingers, or bees, which also have stingers. And this poor young man, is he in any way floral? Is he like a flower? Those little cuffs are rather flower-like. His collar, not quite, but... And that dark red, almost like dried blood. Strange color to wear. That hat, I don't know. There are flowers that have strange petals like this. But I'm not sure if that's meant to be a flower. Or certainly not a feather, or maybe. Well, there you go. The adrenochrome theme exposed again in our masterpieces. One day we'll wake up and will we burn these horrid things or compost them? Maybe burning is too good for them. I don't know. I'm starting to sympathize with people who destroy so-called masterpieces. This is the kind of work I do. This and much more, very different work. It's all and more is in my books. If you wish to support me, you may do that. Work is a bit slow. You know what's happening to the global economy. We're all being more than ever sucked dry by the adrenochrome addicts. Well, they suck. Of course they do. Here's a list of my books. 2 of them, number 1 and 3, are on lulu.com, Lulu's bookstore. I will have the Criminal Bible there, let's say sometime early next month or before that.